Hello, everyone, and we're going to jump on into the course content here with Chapter 1, which is an introduction to strategic management. We saw in the last video clip, strategic management is a set of decisions that determine the long-term performance and success of an organization, and that's really what strategy is uh, about. Is basically making those decisions that help ensure the organization is going to be here for a time to come, that it's sustainable long term, and that its performance can sustain itself, and that it's successful over time. So I've got some examples in here of some local organizations and apply some of the content material to. One thing to pay attention to, I'm going to point out a few things to pay attention to in the slides. One is slide 4, phases of strategic management. Look at those, particularly at phase 4, where we're getting to strategic management, where we want the organization to be. Basically, that's the point where management is looking to increase its responsiveness to changing markets and competition. Things change around us all the time at a faster pace. So organizations have to be aware of what's happening inside the organization and outside the organization that may impact its long-term performance, and then make decisions based on those activities and based on the activity that's happening around them to kind of direct the long-term performance. So um, one of those is looking at trends. What's happening? What are the trends impacting an organization? There are three mentioned in here: globalization, innovation, and sustainability. Take a look at those, um, and then particularly look at slide 11, environmental scanning. So there are two types of environmental scanning that organizations need to do. One is internal. What do we have inside the organization? What do we do well? What do we do not do well? That's important to our customers or our stakeholders. And then looking at the external environment, what's happening outside the organization that may impact us and may impact our long-term performance. One framework that helps to do this is what's called a SWOT analysis. I'm sure you all have seen that before, but it stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strengths and weaknesses are internal to the organization. Again, it's what the organization does well or does not do well. Opportunities and threats come from outside the organization. The organization really has no control over those. They happen in the external environment, but they need to be mindful of them so that one, they can capture opportunities, and two, so that they can respond to threats that may impact their organization's performance. So if you slide 12 has environmental variables. So it's got the internal environment there at the core. That's what the organization can control. That's what happens inside the organization that management can change, direct, and control in terms of its own performance. Once you get outside of that, you're in the external environment that you don't control. So in that environment are several groups. Competitors. What are your competitors doing? Obviously, what an organization's competitors do could impact it. So Lowe's and Home Depot, for example, they compete with each other, so they watch each other closely. Um, what's happening with our customers? Are their buying patterns changing? Are they buying more online versus physical stores? Are their tastes changing? So we need to keep a watch of what's happening within our customer group, what's happening in the government. So government regulation can impact organizations. For example, last year the city of Asheville passed an ordinance where there were no new hotels in the city of Asheville for a period of time. So if you were a developer in the city of Asheville and you were planning on building a new hotel, then that's something that happened outside of your organization in the external environment that impacted your plans and could impact your long-term performance. It's going to change your behavior, change your decisions, if you will. So we have to watch what's happening outside that could impact us. And then that goes a little bit broader out to what's happening in society, socio-cultural forces, economic forces. Right now, we see the coronavirus outbreak is going to definitely have an impact on the economy. So the economy very well could see a recession this year. If it does, that could impact organization. It's going to impact their planning. So take a look at slide 12. Think about how that might apply to some organizations. And then we're going to apply that to Netflix. So on Moodle for this week, you'll see a group discussion forum. So basically, we're going to look at Netflix. I've got some information about Netflix, slides 13 and 14. So take a look at that, do a little bit of outside research on Netflix. Then I'm going to ask you to look inside Netflix. What do you think it does well? What do you think it doesn't do well? And then look at the external environment. What may impact Netflix outside of its internal environment? And then so you'll be asked to post a response to the discussion, and then reply to at least one of your colleagues. Of course, I'll be there joining in the discussion, so it'll allow us to apply this concept of environmental scanning, which is really the main point of chapter 1. Um, Going along to a couple of other concepts. One is the concept of a mission statement. This is important as you all consider your business plans and you draft your course project and your business plan. An organization's mission statement is the reason it's here. So basically, it's the organization's purpose for existing. Why are we here today? What do we do today? What's our purpose? Then you've got a vision statement, which is a little bit longer term. So it's looking out 3 years, 5 years, maybe further than that. But it's a long-term vision of the organization. So the mission is, here's where we are today. The vision is where we want to go. What do we want to become? Where do we want to be in these next few years? So I've got some examples of a few vision and mission statements. Tesla is one of them in there. When you look at Tesla, compare and contrast its mission prior to 16 and in 2016, and its vision. See if there are any inconsistencies there. Finally, the material for chapter 1 talks about 3 levels of strategy. We're just laying some groundwork here. We're going to cover each one of these in depth throughout the course in due time. We're just laying some groundwork here because our internal and external environment, along with our mission and vision, inform our strategy. So we're trying to connect these two together, but we're going to go in depth into these in the next few weeks. But the first strategy is corporate level strategy. Where's the organization going? Does it want to grow? Where does it want to be? What products does it want to be in the next few years? So that's the overarching high level strategy. Then we get down into business level strategy. We're going to focus on competitive strategy, which is where organizations compete for customers or donors if it's a nonprofit organization. How those organizations compete with each other, basically for the dollars of their customers or their stakeholders. Again, we'll focus on the competitive strategies, and then finally, there's functional level strategy. Functional level strategy is how an organization organizes to make sure that its processes and procedures support the business level strategy, which ultimately supports the corporate level strategy. Again, don't get too wrapped up in those right now. We're just laying the groundwork. We'll dive into those in depth as we go throughout the course. Look at slide 27. Talks about how the strategies are connected and ties it in with mission and vision, and then how they support each other. And then I've got some information about Ford Motor Company and something to think about there and apply some of the materials. So read through the materials that I've posted. Make sure to join in the Netflix discussion forum, and we'll go from there. If you have questions, please email me, call me. And again, if you need more supplementary information on Moodle, either via content or more short videos like this, please let me know and I'll adjust as we go. Thank you for being adaptable to the new situation here of going fully online for these first few weeks. Obviously, it was out of all of our control, but thank you for being flexible and adaptive as we all react to the coronavirus situation. Thank you.